Hello and welcome to Dynamite Delight, a very interesting, kind of dim. There we go, it's kind of dim, sorry about that. A very interesting show, counting on if the stuff that we saw was real. It could have been a work, but I do believe it was a shoot because of Taz, but I'll explain that in a few minutes. But I gotta say this before I get started. I did not do my Raw review, and there was a reason. Something was missing for me personally. I'll say this, the show wasn't bad, it wasn't trash, but there was something missing. Now, JD did not review Raw. He didn't do it. I don't know what he was doing, but he didn't review Raw. Just Alex did review Raw, and he tried to justify how Raw has been going. He's saying, well, we know this is a work in progress. It's not always going to be perfect. That's how it is. Sorry. I'm not going to say it like that. It wasn't trash, but there was something wrong. There was something missing. And he tried to glaze over it just a tiny bit. Nothing wrong with it. He's trying to give his best understanding of it. For me personally, I'm not going to do that. Raw wasn't trash, but still there was something missing. And that's a problem. I don't know what it was, but my interest in Raw is not high. Not because the quality has gotten worse, it's gotten better, but there's something missing. Missing, guys. And for me personally, it's going to depend on something dragging me back into Raw. Right now, at least for this episode, I watched it. I even wrote notes to it, but I had no interest in reviewing it. So that means there's something missing for me personally. Now, we look at this Dynamite. This show was interesting. The question is that interesting because of the good storylines, or interesting because things have gotten even more messier because of what happened to Hangman Page? The question is, the Hangman really hurt or not? I don't know. If he isn't hurt, they made it look decently good, particularly that Taz made it look interesting. But let me go through the show. Opening, we got Best Friends versus Death Triangle in the Trios Tag Team title match. Now, we see a good match, and we see that still Pac, my boy is still trying to knock someone out, knock their teeth down their throat with a hammer. And it's this time, it takes Ray to try and stop him. Ray Phoenix is telling him, stop, don't do this. They almost lost the match because of it, but they did win it. Now, the question is going to be, how far they're going to keep going with Pac. Pac is acting erratic. Does this mean they're about to break up Death Triangle? Or make them, they're going to make them drop the titles, then break them up because Pac is acting erratic. I don't know. Maybe. To be honest, I don't think they should be going down this route. You know why? Because of all the controversy that's been going on in the back. They don't need to have a controversy with teams now. That's just me. Right now, Pac acting out like this. Maybe good storytelling, but at this point, with such messiness with the roster right now, I do not agree with him beginning to go down this path right now. I just don't agree with it. Now, I wouldn't mind him going to the TNT title, but I just don't believe that this is the wisest thing for Death Triangle. That's just me. Toni Storm and Shida, their interim tag, the reason I said tag is because they like tagging together. Since Thunder Rosa's not there and she's still in a condition where she can't wrestle, we have Shida dealing with Toni Storm, and they've tagged together a bit. Now they're letting them go up against one another. I'm kind of wondering why they did this now. Now I know with Toni Storm, we still got over a month before Full Gear. Full Gear is far away, several weeks. And they wanted her to defend her title. I kind of wish they did it with someone newer than Shida. I didn't want to see her with Shida. If they were going to do Shida, that should have happened at the pay-per-view, because the last time they faced each other was 9.5 years ago? Easily 9. Wouldn't it have been good to build up a story with that? Yes, you got more than a month away, but why did you rush it? That I don't agree with. They could have just let Toni Storm deal with someone who is from Dark or Elevation, bring them on TV, let them get a little spotlight that'll give more women more of an opportunity on the main show. But no, they use Shida. Was this the wisest thing to do? For me personally, no. I would have liked to see them build Sheeta up. Do some extra stuff with Sheeta. Not that they have to make them hate one another, but tension between them could have been built up. Someone talking to Sheeta saying, hey, you know you're still not getting your shot. Why are you not getting the shot? It doesn't even have to come from Britt Baker or Jamie Hayter or from Rebel. Just could be anyone else from the roster saying, you know, if she's your friend, why don't she let you go up against her? And then Tony, the same thing. Why couldn't you build a story around that way? It doesn't have to be where two faces actually break away and one of them turns heel. You could have had something that eventually made them have to face one another because they have faced each other once before 9 years ago. I'm just saying. You did get Baker, you got Hayter, you got Rio coming out, you got Saraya. All of them coming out after the match was said and done. Now, I think it's going to be Rio versus Jamie Hayter next week for next Dynamite. Here's the thing. I'm very curious about this. You guys tell me below. Unless Sheeta was hurt, they disregarded her completely. Why would you have Rio come out, help to save everyone, Saraya running away with Britt Baker out into the open, out into the back? Fine, they're gone. They're going to have their feud. But what happened to Sheeta? Wouldn't it have been better to have Sheeta, Rio, and Toni Storm walk away together? How come Toni Storm walks away with Rio, and what happened to Sheeta? Here the Kushida just was dropped like nothing. And this is where it gets a little interesting. For me personally, there are certain things you don't do in wrestling. Certain things. This is what I understand. You guys tell me below. If you've seen the match between Sheeta and Toni Storm, didn't you notice at one point when Sheeta was trying to pin Toni Storm, when she was trying to pin her, she laid her, you know what, on Toni Storm's face? It wasn't that she was laying her butt and her coochie right here. She was laying it here on her head. Now, for men, you do not let your dick get in the face of a guy. That is completely disrespectful. That is done. Total disrespect. So Toni Storm didn't do that to Sheeta. Sheeta did that to Toni Storm. Why? That is a taboo in actual pro wrestling, that you don't put your nether region to someone's face. If it's an accident, that happens. But Sheeta purposely, the way that she pinned Toni, laid right here. Either this is her girlfriend and she wants her to smell her, or she did that on purpose. Why? And then when the match was all said and done and the beatdown happened and Saraya comes out and Rio saves Toni Storm, what happened to Hiro Kushida? She's completely disregarded. So that means something is up for me personally. I don't know what it was. I don't know. I could be wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm fine if I'm wrong. But that didn't look right. That match looked funny. I don't know if JD's going to recognize it. I don't know if just Alex is going to recognize it or Solid Monster. Probably I'm the only one that's going to recognize it because maybe I'm looking into it too much. But if I'm not, what was that? You guys, some below. Now, the ROH heavyweight title. What is the guy's name? Delton Castle versus a Chris Jericho. Now, I didn't know that Castle had broken his back years ago. For him to get back into the ring, that got props. Now, when it comes to the boys with him, his stick is funny as hell. It looks stupid, but it's also funny. I remember that in the last pay-per-view that they had for ROH. And the one before that, I believe. So it was funny. He having basically servants or boys, kind of like with, if you're thinking about Mad Max Thunder Fury or whatever, Fury Road or whatever. Kind of makes me think of them, like the Drum Boys. So it wasn't a bad match. In the end, Chris won, which I'm not surprised. And then seeing Chris take out Jerry Lynn, a former ROH champion, is the wisest thing to do. I'm glad to see it. It's supposed to happen. Now, I don't think they took out the other commentator. They took out Jerry Lynn, but not the other one. So I think the other one's going to get nailed soon. That's just me. You guys comment below. But I'm glad that it happened. I'm glad the match was done. And then you see Jake Hager loving a hat. Really? I'm just saying. Let's move on. We only had 4 matches during the night. But we did see certain things, like Wheeler Yuta and Bryan Danielson had an interview. And pretty much Wheeler Yuta was pissed that Bryan Danielson cares so much about Daniel Garcia more than him. Because he's hoping that he would care about him, but he's not. So Garcia is more Bryan Danielson's focus than Wheeler Yuta is. So Wheeler Yuta's got a chip on his shoulder. The question is, how far is that going to go? Another segment, Jade Cargill. She still does not have her title. She's pissed off as hell, and she's going over to Rampage to see if she can get the damn title. If not, she's going to lock the place down. Now, is this a good story for a... Look, I said this and I still believe this. Jade Cargill should have dropped the title already. She should have dropped it to Athena, or she should have dropped it to... Look, she could have dropped it to Ruby Soho. She could have dropped it before she got hurt. She could have dropped it to easily an Athena. Or better yet, why not to Selena Deeps to give it the most legitimacy? The professor should have been the champ, maybe the first champ. I still believe she should have been the first champ instead of not Jamie Haber. You see, I'm getting confused. You know why? Because this story of Nia Rose stealing the title and pretty much running around with it, and pretty much Jade cannot get her hands on her, it seems a little flawed. It just doesn't work for me. Does it work for other people? Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. But for me personally, where they should be doing something more substantial with a Jade Cargill, they're doing this. It's like they really don't have an idea for her. Why not move her away from this and make her the next opponent for Toni Storm? Isn't it time for her to drop the damn title and move on to the main title? I'm just saying, hell, if you don't want a Britt Baker to get the main title again, let a Britt Baker go after the TBS title after Jade Cargill drops the damn thing. It's not going to hurt her to take the lower tier title. I'm just saying. The best promo of the damn night. You know what it is. You know what I'm going to talk about. But you know what? I'm going to wait after I do the Moxley and Paige match, which is coming now. Moxley and Paige for the AEW title. Good match. Opening was not in the ring. You see Hangman Page attack since it was in Cincinnati. And they did do video packages for it. It really did help the match. Then you see them fighting well before the match happens. And then they go and do the match. Fine. But then near the end of the match, middle of the match, you get a really nasty clothesline, which supposedly does a topsy-turvy turn on a Hangman Page, which supposedly he's done. He's knocked out, supposedly. Really knocked out. And this is where it gets a little confusing for me, because the person that's trying to sell this the most is not going to be Tony Schiavone. It's not Excalibur. It's Taz. Taz is trying to sell this. Or Taz is the only one who cares about this. Because the way it went, once Hangman Page gets that hard clothesline and they call the match and Moxley wins, that Hangman Page is done. This is 10 minutes before the show ends. 10 minutes. And it looks like they were trying to fill in time, trying to get things sorted out. So it made me wonder, is this a work? But the person that is the most worried about this, the most upset about this, is Taz. Since Taz jacked his neck during a match in ECW, he's never been right about seeing wrestlers get hurt in the ring during a match. This is Taz's MO. He did that in WWE. He did that in Impact Wrestling. I've seen it, at least in recordings. He does not like it when someone gets hurt. He gets very upset, legitimately. So this makes me think that Hangman Page is legitimately hurt. But is he hurt? I don't know. I think he is hurt, possibly. But this could still be a work. Because once it was over and you see Moxley trying to sell this, and then audio and lighting started going funky, you see that once MJF comes down with that chip, he looks like he's going to get in the ring, and William Regal came down as well, and he's saying, "What are you doing?" And I will get to that segment, just give me a minute. But when he gets in that ring, takes off his shirt, and you can see he's still got the bruising, heavy bruising from his last match. From his last match he had not fully recovered. He is still bruised right here, and that's MJF. He cuts a second best promo saying, "When I come at you, I'm going to face your ass. And for the first time, I'm going to do it clean. Full Gear, I'm calling it now. I'm going to make sure," and he's so pissed off at William Regal that he wanted him to understand that he's not fucking around, that he wants to prove that he can be the best. And when you see that segment, that little piece right before the match, you wonder, right after that, you wonder, is Hangman Page actually hurt or not? Is this just story? Is it a work? So I don't know. I could easily be wrong and he's really hurt. Because the way Taz tried to sell this, he was legitimately upset. And you can hear Excalibur a bit upset, but he still has to go through all of the points that you got to do, selling the next Dynamite, selling the next Rampage, talking about Full Gear. Yeah, my accent. I got no damn accent. And something just came in my head, just say, do an accent. You see how I botch? Oh my goodness. You wonder. Now, the best thing of this show. Can he be the devil? I think that is the title I'm going to use. Not MJF can be the devil. Can he be a devil or can be a devil? The segment that was supposed to be from William Regal. Guys, this was, and I thought the segments they had in the last couple of months in AEW or WWE was good. This is the best segment I've seen all year. The best promo I've seen all year. I don't care about anything else. This was real, and it felt real. We get Tony Schiavone in the ring. We get William Regal in the ring. William Regal is being asked some questions, and pretty much MJF comes down, and he says, "Don't worry, I ain't gonna do nothing." He takes off his Dynamite diamond ring, put it in some ring. Put it in his pocket. This way it gets good. I'm excited about this. The way he spoke, making it very clear that at 19 years old, 7 years ago, or was it 8? 7 to 8 years ago, he, with his, in the dojo he went to, there are wrestling dojos and training centers, he was called to WWE. And one of the people he met was a guy in the ring. He did his wrestling bit, and William Regal called him into an office and said, "You got 3 minutes. Convince me why I should get you hired." And he was convinced. But when he found out how old he was, he says, "You can't do it. You're too young. You're 19, can't do it. Can't let you." So he told him to go home, but keep sending me promos. Keep sending me tapes of what you do. He did it for 3 months, and William Regal told him, "I don't have time for this anymore. When you get credibility and pretty much get a championship or something under your belt or whatever, contact me then." That pissed the hell out of MJF. He was so angry. He said legitimately he wanted to kill himself. He wanted to quit wrestling. But then he turned that ass around and he said, and this probably goes around the time when I was looking at Kansas City wrestling. Or the National Wrestling League. That's how it was pronounced back then. And KC, National Wrestling League. They don't do anything anymore. But the first time I ever saw MJF, and I'm saying this myself, this was back in what? 2016 or 17. The first time I saw MJF, truly saw him, was in the National Wrestling League in KC and Kansas City when he was on their show. And I think he was either 19 or 20 years old. And that was the very first time I ever saw him. He'd already finished his training and he was already in a promotion, even though it was an extremely minor one that now is debunked, I believe, because Marty Bell was there. That was the first time I legitimately saw him back in around 2015, no, 16 or 17. I think 16. Yeah, I think I saw him around 2016 when I saw him in the National Wrestling League. He was something there. I saw him. I knew there was something about him, but I never saw him again because I didn't watch the National Wrestling League after that. I saw a couple of episodes. It really wasn't consistent, so I could never do a review of it. But I knew there was something special about him. And when you see this promo where he's literally screaming in rage at a William Regal, saying that you pissed my ass off, and now you stupid old man, you got no job, you're nothing, you're nobody, and look at me here, right here, I'm making so much damn money, I got so much. And William Regal, the second best promo from somebody else. Him talking back to MJF saying, I did exactly what I needed to do because I knew I saw something to you. I knew I saw something of you. I knew I saw something that was meant to be. Not those exact words, but you get my point. He's telling him, I knew I saw something. That's the reason why I sent you that email to piss your ass off and light a fire under you. And to make it very clear, if that pissed you off, legitimately, you got it easy. Because when I started, I literally had to wrestle men at the age of 14, full-grown men, getting my ass beaten up and bleeding. This is easy for you. This is a different time. I could not sign you because you were a kid, and it's illegal in a sense. He's saying illegal because not everybody wants to see a little kid, not even 20 years old, get his ass handed to him by full-grown adults because of cancel culture and everything that's going on. That's what he was saying. But he made it very clear. I wanted you to become something special. I knew you become something special. And look where you are now. And you want to be the devil. But you don't do things right. Look at me. I am the devil, but I am a devil I'm an evil guy, but I have a certain boundary. What you did with Tony Schiavone, you didn't need to do that. You've been cutting corners, and you did that to Tony Schiavone. You don't need to do that. You can be the most ruthless, evil devil in this ring. You don't need to do what you do. And in the end, if you truly want to be a devil, and he turns his back to him just like this, prove it. Prove you can be a true devil. That's what he was saying. Take my ass out. He did not have his brass knucks. They were still stuck in his pocket, which he said, I don't need to use brass knucks to knock people out. I just do it because I like it. You do it because you cut corners. He made it so clear that this was his moment to show how much of a devil he could become by taking out an old man with a messed up neck and back. He didn't do it. He said, you got a lot more to learn, and walks out of the ring. And MJF is so pissed. But you know what happened at the end of the show, as I've already said it. This was the best segment I've seen in AEW in a while. But, this is where it gets a little hairy. Guys, I'm not saying that Hangman Page was hurt or Hiro Kushida was hurt. Hiro Kushida was probably fine. But what I just saw from Hiro Kushida, literally laying her ass and pussy dead on Toni Storm's face. You don't do that in wrestling, guys. Men, if it's an accident, it happens. Sometimes you get in a bad position. Shida didn't get into a bad position. She legitimately laid her pussy and her ass in Toni Storm's head. Legitimately. You can look it up for yourself. You can go watch the match yourself. Look at it for yourself. When she finished doing her move, she didn't just land on her chest. She landed on her head on purpose and leaned back on purpose to let her pussy be here. No, her pussy be here and her ass here. That happened. Then you see Hangman Page. I don't know if he's hurt. He probably isn't. This might be storyline, or he could actually be hurt. He looked laid out. He was done. So if he was hurt, this doesn't look good for AEW either. If I'm right, and Hikaru Shida just did something legitimately is a taboo to women and men. You don't put your nether regions in their face when you pin them unless you're pissed off at them and you want to be disrespectful. And then a Hangman Page that might actually be concussed, knocked out. And they're trying their best to straighten this mess out. And it takes Taz to make it clear that we should be doing something else other than talking about what's next coming in AEW. We should be focusing on this guy because we're worried about him. This doesn't look good for AEW, counting on what people will recognize. I could be wrong. I probably am wrong. But if I'm wrong, they made it look good. At least when it came to Hangman Page. Here, Kushida, on the other hand, I don't know. I could be wrong. But you guys tell me below. And I hope you enjoyed the same view. Please give me a comment below. I've exercised my demon. Peace.